Got a lot of intel happening around the country. Spring practice in full swing. I'm going to get to a few practices next week, and that's about the extent that I can tell you because these are closed to the media. So officially, I'm not anywhere next week. Unofficially, going to be on the road next week. What about Georgia? We were there last week. It was a non-practice day, so I didn't get to watch practice. But there is zero question to me. Gunnar Stockton's going to be the starting quarterback of this team. Now, that's not breaking news. That's not intel because Georgia fans know that. However, last week, remember, I had a question on the show about whether I was worried Kirby was going to value seniority over talent at the quarterback position. Now, at the time, I knew we were going down there the very next day. So at the time, I knew this is going to be really fun to put in his face. So I gave my take on it on the show the night before. But then I walked down there. Actually, you know what? I don't want to paint myself as a hero. We didn't Forrest Gump it. We drove. We took a car down to Athens, and we sat down with him, and I said, hey, we had a viewer submit a question. What do you think about it? And I have the video to prove it. Roll it, Colin. I had a guy on last night's show, right before I came down here. He said, hey, I'm a Georgia fan. I like a lot of the players, the young players on the team. He said, I've got concern that Kirby's going to favor seniority over talent at quarterback. I gave my answer to that. What kind of response do you give to that?
Well, talent at quarterback is a beautiful thing. You have to be able to go out and execute at that position. There's a lot of positions that you can take talent over seniority. At quarterback, you got to take the guy that gives you the best chance to win the game. That includes talent, that includes decision making, because that position can get you beat faster than it can win the game. Because all it takes is a fumble, a poor decision, a misprotection, sack fumble, and the game's over. You can't afford to have those kind of mistakes, even with a talented guy. And we have talented guys. And that assumption, I guess, is a Gunnar Ryan or a Gunnar somebody. Gunnar's very talented. He's been playing a lot of football for us. Ryan's very talented. Every school in the country wanted him. So we have talented players. We've got to get the right talented players around them. That's the big decision, is like who's around us on defense and offense, because we do have some good young freshmen and sophomores that have a chance to beat out some older players.
That part there, believe it or not, the head coach at Georgia made a really good point about Georgia. Really astute. I think he knows what he's talking about. Quarterback will be okay. I don't think they plan on having all-American caliber play at quarterback. My words, not his. But I think they look at Gunnar Stockton and say, number one, he's probably going to be our starter. Number two, we weren't good enough around the quarterback position last year. Our running backs numbers tailed off significantly. Our defensive numbers tailed off. Our receivers dropped everything they could possibly drop in sight. So how's that panning out in spring ball? Well, a wide receiver position. Hearing good things, promising things. Now, granted, there's a long way to go up for Georgia at the wide receiver position. They brought in Zachariah Branch from USC. When I was down there last week, I made specific mention of him to as many staffers as I could. He's talented. He wouldn't be there if he wasn't talented. What they spoke about was how quickly he sort of got with the program, which you never know when you're bringing in a guy from elsewhere and you do things a very, intense, specific kind of way. You don't know. You hope, but you don't know. I think they got what they wanted in him in that department. Also, he's really good as a receiver, but also Colby Young. He's got his legal stuff out of the way. So he's presumably back, and cautious optimism about the wide receiver position there. Left tackle and right guard, at least at the ones, have been out. So offensive line's going to be a question for them, and the numbers have been a problem for them trying to practice the way they want to practice. But that's what spring's for. At Michigan, let's just ask it again. Probably won't be the last time. Is Bryce Underwood going to start for them at quarterback? It's a race. It's certainly going to be a legitimate race. You don't pay that kind of money. Yeah, this is flawed logic, what I'm about to say, but it is logic. You don't pay that kind of money for a guy to sit the bench. Here's the retort you should be saying to your screen or monitor or phone right now. Well, if he's not good enough, he's not good enough. He's not ready, he's not ready. I agree with you. That makes sense. But that conversation piece isn't going away. So here is the thing to remember. They brought Mikey Keene in there, who's a veteran, and they brought Bryce Underwood in, who was the number one player in the country, and he's a true freshman, but they're both learning a new offense because they brought both of them in. So neither, Keene wasn't at Michigan for 3 years, and now Underwood's trying to see if he can just pull up even with him. Well, from an offensive grasp and grasping the system, they're both new. Remember, they go to Oklahoma in week 2. So, what I'm saying is it may be a situation where the guy who's starting in week 1 or 2 is not the guy who's starting in week 7 or 8. In fact, if I had to bet money now, I wouldn't bet much of it. And if I had to bet money, I would bet that may be the route Michigan goes. Maybe your ultimate plan is to get to the finish line with Bryce Young, or Bryce, have I said Bryce Young tonight? Underwood's the name. Okay, good, man, because it almost came out there. Bryce Underwood is your starter maybe at the end of the year, maybe not at the beginning of the year. Derek Moore at edge, listening to Wink Martindale talk about him, they're replacing guys. It sounds like that may be one of the stars in waiting there. But that Indiana wide receiver transfer is the one I'm excited about. Donovan McCulley, 6'5", about 205. Michigan, I did not realize this, has not had a 1,000-yard receiver since 2013. I should have, though, because that's a stat that gets thrown around a lot, but I'd forgotten it about Michigan. Maybe. I don't know if I'd bet the money on that, but maybe. He's a guy that's really been mentioned a lot when we reach out about Michigan. Now, Nebraska, hey, quick timeout. Check and see if you're subscribed to the channel. If you're not, make sure you do. It's free. It doesn't obligate you or sign you up for anything. It just helps us keep the channel free. All right, back to the show. First 2 years under Matt Rule, top 20 defenses. Critical parts of the defensive staff departed for Florida State. But they brought in Dana Holgorsen at the offensive coordinator position. So you think to yourself, well, all you got to do is have more points than the other team. So maybe you got to score more. Maybe you give up more this year. But still, if you score more points at the end of the day than the other team, you win. Doesn't really matter how you went about it. Yes, welcome to football. So huge expectations here at the running back position for Emmett Johnson. And we think he fits the Dana Holgorsen system very well because he can run the ball, but he can also catch the ball out of the backfield, which any high-functioning Dana Holgorsen offense has always had. And he almost portaled out of there. If you'll remember, he's 1 foot out the door. They hired Dana Holgorsen as the full-time OC. He kind of comes back and probably chased another guy off in the process. That's the way it felt from the outside. So I'm watching him. I'm watching Sierra Wright at the corner position. We keep hearing good things about him. McCullough and Winery, the edge guys, we keep hearing good things about them. So, there's a smattering of portal talent. You've also got several recruiting classes there now. Nebraska, year 3 under Matt Rule, history says that's the year it's supposed to happen. Well, there's got to be tangible reasons why it's going to happen. There are a few. At Tennessee, Mike Matthews, you remember that name? Braylon Staley, you remember that name? Those are both top 100 overall players. They're both wide receivers, but they were top 100 overall in the 2024 cycle. Both of them look good so far in spring ball. They've got to have those guys. They got to go 2 for 2 on those guys panning out. Be really interesting, sort of with the offensive line evolution there. Be really interesting to see how effective they can be offensively. Because I think in my mind, what was the identity last year of playoff-bound Tennessee? It was defense. Defense had to bail them out a lot last year. Kind of wild to be saying that multiple years into Josh Heupel's tenure. It's not a criticism. In fact, I think it's the mark of a program that's rapidly evolving when you ended up last year winning games on the side opposite of what the head coach's area of expertise is. So not a bad thing, just a thing. Florida, DJ Lagway's status is still the same as it's been. He's not throwing. He may not throw in spring. Now, I'm going to give you my take on this. I think it's going to be okay. Maybe more precautionary. Obviously, it's more than just what is usually viewed as precautionary. Usually, that's a guy stubbed his toe, and we don't want to risk him further injuring it, so we're going to sit him out of practice today. But if he played tomorrow, we'd suit him up. Well, I don't know if Lagway would go if they played tomorrow. Maybe he would. They don't go tomorrow. They go a few months from now. I think if nothing changes, he'll be good. Because I think, actually, things will change in that you get another several months of recoup, of revamping, fancy words for rehabilitation. I think he'll be okay there. But also, that wide receiver group at Florida is, pound for pound, one of the position units that we keep getting the best intel on out of anywhere in the country. They are overly excited down there about that wide receiver group. South Carolina lost a lot at defensive tackle. This is just kind of something I'm paying attention to. They're confident that they can backfill that. I don't take that for granted. So my position on South Carolina is going to be, all right, trust but verify. Trust but verify. Didn't have much on them, but it's kind of a TBD for me. I have learned, I think we all have, through the portal era, most portal additions don't work out. I mean, if you think about it from 50,000 feet, there are a lot of reasons why guys are in the portal. Sometimes they just are that good, and there's this huge market for them. Other times there may be a defect, there may be a flaw, there may be a reason they didn't stick, and their previous place didn't really want to pay them. This is case by case, obviously, but everybody assumes everyone they get out of the portal is going to be wonderful and a perfect fit. More oftentimes than not, that's not the case. That doesn't mean it's going to be the case with South Carolina or your team. What it does mean is I've learned to take the position of just trust but verify on all these portal additions. And when you're relying on them, if they pan out, that's great. It's just, I don't know, it's a slightly uneasy feeling for me when you know like a position unit's hopes and dreams are based off of portal additions. Because I don't know them as much. I didn't recruit them out of high school. They haven't come up through my system. You get it.